Hello and welcome back to Up the Villa podcast. Welcome to our predicted lineup. We have a full stacked team. I am delighted to be on the screen with all of you. We're going to get straight on in there. Then we're going to have a look at Forest's predicted lineup. We're going to have a look at their strengths. And we are going head to head. In the red corner,
argument.
we have Luke and Ryan. And in the blue corner, we have Hannah and Justin.
Won't be a full house for long.
No. We have already spoke about the team, and me and Ryan have came up with our team, the team that we could agree on. And in the blue corner, Hannah and Justin cannot agree with our team. So what we've decided to do is we're going to put it to a vote. So in the comment section down below, once you've seen both teams, we want you to say whether you are team Ryan and Luke or whether you are team Hannah and Justin. And then we'll gauge whose team is better. And then we'll go from there. So before we start, Ryan was absolutely fantastic on the match preview, talking about Nottingham Forest's strengths. And we have the predicted lineup for Nottingham Forest. And this has come from the opposition fans who are going to be on the opposition preview on Saturday. And they have reverted back to a 4-3-3. Last game against Liverpool, they played a 5 at the back. And I'm told they think they're going to go back to a 4-3-3. There's talk of their keeper being switched up. So they're going with number 23 in goal. Taiwo Awoniyi is going to be starting up top. He played 25 minutes against Liverpool, but they reckon he's going to come back in. And then Elanga is going to go back to the left, and Gibbs White is going to go to the right-hand side where he's playing. You've got Dominguez, Mangala, and Sangare in the middle. So before we really get into our teams, I just want to show you some of the strengths and weaknesses of Nottingham Forest. So we've got aerial duels, they're very strong, counter-attack strong, attacking down the wing strong, which, you know, from a 4-3-3, you'd imagine attacking out wide, they're going to be strong. And they're strong stealing the ball from the opposition. Weaknesses, there seem to be quite a few. Keeping hold of possession, finishing scoring chances, avoiding being offside, avoiding fouling in dangerous areas, defending counter-attacks, defending set pieces, and very weak at protecting a lead. Their style of play is take lots of shots, long balls, attacking down the right. They're aggressive, rotate their first 11 and playing in their own half. Now, the next graphic I'm going to show you is a new graphic that I found. Ryan knows this graphic well. Actually, not this one. We're going to go to this one. So what you can see here, this is Aston Villa touches. So the blue, you can see Aston Villa touching the ball more than the opponents in open play, more than 55% of total touches. So the blue is where Aston Villa touch the ball more than the opponent. The red is where the opponent touched the ball more than Aston Villa. And the grey is a neutral zone. So it's pretty mixed. So that's Aston Villa. So, I mean, you can probably tell by our style. We build up from the back. You've got Pau Torres in that blue area just above the 18-yard box. You've got Luca Dean attacking down that left-hand side. You've got us getting to the byline with cutbacks. And then a neutral ground overall. You can see we're strong around the halfway line with the double pivot. I'm going to show you Nottingham Forest's now. So Nottingham Forest in the blue, where they're averaging 55% of their touches, where the opposition having most touches against Nottingham Forest is the red. So you can see that it's not great from Nottingham Forest's side of things. And I think this comes down to their turnovers with possession. They're not a possession-based side. And then I just wanted to highlight this graphic here, which shows the style comparison. So Nottingham Forest style, if I had to describe it to any, is a little bit like West Ham's. It's direct. They play on transition. And that translates to this graphic here, where you can see where they're similar to West Ham. And then Aston Villa's, you can see that we kind of in the middle. We're edging towards trying to be slow and intricate with our possession. But I think where this differs for Aston Villa is because we play in many different styles, we can go direct, we can play on the counter, but then we can play possession-based football. It has us in that middle zone. So, good graphics. Ryan, what do you make of what I've just discussed?
Yes, spot on and excellently presented as well. Real good presentation there, Mr. Robinson, and pretty much backs up my eye test of them. Really, the weaknesses I had down pretty much the same as that. Like the wide areas defensively, they're very narrow, and I noticed in the Luton game that Luton got at them quite a lot in them areas and got good balls in. The Liverpool game, again, for weaknesses, I noticed their defence of a counter-attack. A lot of Liverpool's, the build-up to most of Liverpool's goals Sunday came from winning the ball back and countering Forest, so sucking them out, giving them a little bit, stealing possession and hitting them on the break, sort of playing them at their own game. And possession, the weakness is possession. Like that image you showed there where they're very blue in the 6-yard box, but then the rest of the field is red, isn't it? But they do like to ping the balls out to the right-hand side, look for Morgan, Gibbs, White, and you see on that graphic there, it was like a very grey area. That's where they look to attack. And then I sort of look at their strengths as well before we go into this line-up selection. I look at their strengths, the long ball. Obviously, we can be suspect to that long ball at times, especially if we've got a high line, ball over the top, and they've got pace on the counter, and then they've got pace on the wings. And also, one of the other strengths that I've seen was their aerial ability. So that also comes into my thinking for our predicted lineup, Luke.
Definitely. So I've been showing some of the graphics while Ryan's been speaking. They've got a long throw as well. So again, very airily looking to win that ball at the near post. They've got the big lads on that second phase at the back post as well. But one thing that I want to really highlight is where Aston Villa are going to be dangerous here. And we've seen it from all of these screenshots that I've highlighted here now. A little bit like Luton, you've got their midfield here. You've then got this next phase here where there's space, there's gaps. But something that I was really surprised about when I was watching Nottingham Forest is when they're turning over this possession, is they've lost the ball in the middle of the park and they're so vulnerable to the counter. So many times against Liverpool, it was 3v3, it was 3v2s, and this was happening time and time again in this game. And look at this scrambling around here now. You've got like a 3v2 at Anfield, and you know Liverpool were explosive on the counter, but the defensive shape of Nottingham Forest was absolutely all over the place. And this was with them playing 5 at the back as well. So you'd imagine 5 at the back. You know, you've got more bodies, you've got more reinforcements, but time and time again, the ball went out to Salah. He's 1v1. They're getting runners into midfield. So, you know, this is something that Villa can really, really look to exploit. This was in the second half. We've got runners again. We've got a 2v2 here. So there's big spaces in this Forest side that can massively be exploited. So before we get into the lineups then, we'll hear from Hannah because she wasn't on the match preview. How are you feeling about this game? Are you confident?
Always confident these days. It makes a change, doesn't it? Yeah, I think this is a really good test again. You know, we're trying to build up this away form now in the same way that we've been playing at home. And I think anytime you can kind of go to a ground like Forest, where it's a bit of a fortress, the fans are always really behind them, and they're kind of not a derby, but you know, it's a local team where, you know, we're both clubs that like to think we've got a lot of history, and there's a little bit behind it. So I think it's a good test for us. You know, I think it's a little bit similar to the Luton game in terms of the type of team we're playing, in a sense that, you know, they're going to want to protect, I think 0-0 as long as they can, and then try and nick something, knowing that Villa are sort of the challenge that we are at the minute. and the fact that they might want to play a little bit more narrow, a little bit sort of tough behind the ball a little bit. And I think I mentioned in the match reaction post Luton that I don't necessarily think we enjoy playing some of these teams that set up like that. But I think in this game, you've touched on there, the counter attack's going to be really, really key for us, and I think we can enjoy that quite a lot. And obviously, when we come on to picking our teams, that will be a big reason why I think me and Justin have gone for who we have, because I think it will be a big sort of counter-attacking game. They'll probably, like I say, try and nick something quick breaks through. So hopefully it's an entertaining one. We want them to come at us, don't we? I think that's when we play our best football. So hopefully it is end to end, and we can just protect our goal as much as possible, and then be quite fruitful at the other end.
Right then, let's get into it then. I sound like Bruce Buffer the way we go and the way we're looking at this one. So me and Ryan, we've come up with our team, and we are very aligned on what we want. So I'm going to share the screen now. I'm going to let Ryan sort of take over and explain our team. So take it away, mate.
So, should we start defensively then? You're going to have the world's #1 goalkeeper in goal, ain't you? Standard.
Yep.
And he'll be desperate. He'll be desperate for a clean sheet as well, just to mark that occasion. So, we have gone for a back three, haven't we, Luke? Of Konza, Carlos, and Pau. I mentioned the aerial ability of Forest's front line and from set pieces, and Carlos will add to that. Also, in an attacking sense, I feel that a back three makes us more attacking, believe it or not. I think that Luca Dean can get forward without really the defensive worries, where he'll have a bit of backup from Pau, he'll have a bit of backup from Carlos, and he can exploit that area that we've highlighted at the start of the show, where Nottingham Forest are weak. Obviously, one of Forest's strengths is attacking that right-hand side, and I think the protection of Pau and Carlos there can double up. So that just gives that protection as well on the right for Morgan Gibbs-White. Plus, Luca Dean is defensively minded anyway, being a fullback, so he will spot danger and get back into position. So I think that makes us really tough defensively, but gives us a nice base to attack. We have gone for Matty Cash, not in the right back position, but as the right winger. Again, similar to Luca Dean's position there, he has got that license there to attack that space where Forest are vulnerable. And again, Alanga, he's in good form, but you've got the cover of Konza, you've got the cover of Kamara, and you've got the cover of Carlos as well, centrally. So I think that gives us a real solid foundation. And as you move up into the middle of the pitch with Kamara and Louise, Forest have got a narrow midfield three, tough midfield three. They like to sit in there and be a bit stubborn. So I think we need to be strong in that midfield as well. And then we're looking in between the lines, and then we're looking at that attacking formation now and coming alive in midfield. I think with Forest giving up so much possession, then we can build out the back with them three. But I think when it comes into midfield, I want it to pop a bit. I want it to fizz. And I think that's when we've got to be a bit more explosive. So obviously with Louise and Kamara pulling the strings in midfield as well, when that ball goes in and spotting passes in the lines. The energy of McGinn, the tenacity of McGinn. He's got a record of scoring goals at the City Ground, hasn't he? He scored them couple in the Championship that he took really well. And I just think he's suited to get in that space. And also the live wire, the lightning, Moussa Diaby as well, exploiting that area. And you've got like England's top marksman in the Premier League, Watkins, up there as well. So, I think this is, I'm very, very comfortable with this team, especially away from home and against this opposition.
Yeah, me too.
Which opposition are we talking about? The Nottingham Forest or me and Justin?
You're going to have your chance in a minute, right? But so I really like this team as well, because I think when I'm looking at Forest, and I think what are we going to try and do at the Forest ground? We're going to look to control the game. We're going to look to control possession, and we know that they've got a midfield three in there. So how ours works, if we've kind of got that box midfield, and I kind of feel like Kamara's role in this game is going to be more to work in that double pivot with Luis, and I think when sometimes we play the four and Cash is on the right, and then he goes forward, and then Kamara goes in that role and he's sort of screening, I think it means that sort of like McGinn has to come in there, and that's what we saw against Luton. And I think away from home, I think we're going to go for something a little bit more solid, and we can really concentrate. Yeah. And I think, you can have Diaby that can come and make that sort of box midfield with McGinn, Luis, Kamara, and then it can allow Cash to sort of stay on that side, and those sort of overloads that he can get at that back post when he sort of gate crashes as well. So yeah, I think it's a strong team. I like it. I think we were very unlucky not to beat Wolves, to be fair, and we went with the sort of like the three at the back in that game. And I think we have sort of got different styles home and away, and I think we're going to get on to Hannah and Justin's team now, but I think even both teams, are both very, very good. But
100%.
We couldn't really agree. So I'm just going to leave you to it now. So the floor is yours, guys, and you can try and convince the viewers on your team. So what are you going with?
Go on, Justin.
Right.
He's ready.
Firstly, to be honest, either team that we've gone for tonight, I'll be happy with. As we said at the start of the season, it is a squad game now. It's not a first 11 game. So these are just little tweaks on, ways that we would approach the game on Sunday. I go basically, and Hannah agreed earlier on our group chat, that we go more or less exactly the same as the home fixture, but the only change would be Zaniolo would step out and Bailey comes in our side. So the back four remains the same as the weekend. Yep.
There we go.
With the usual double pivot in front with Louise and Kamara. And then you have Watkins up top.
Not got a midfield.
Kamara in, that's it, yep. And then Bailey will be playing. Yeah, McGinn sort of in the
on the left or right.
Role. Well, you see, this is what I don't think it really matters. I would probably put him more in the 10 in this sort of formation, and maybe play Diaby off the left, and it doesn't really matter. Bailey off the right, Bailey off the left. What the point of this team in my eyes is because look at the way Liverpool. I've just looked at Liverpool's formation, and they went with three up top against Forest in the last game. They went with Salah, Nunes, and Jota. Now they've obviously looked at that and thought Forest overcommit, which we've seen. They like to counter-attack. They like to attack down the wings. So, and we've seen in all the footage. To be fair, like Luke, you've highlighted it really well. Is how they do overcommit, and their big problem is getting back in when the opposition turn the ball over. Now, if that happens, it's nothing against Zaniolo, but I want three pacey people up front against Forest, because if we are going to catch them on the break, and they are going to be 3-on-3, 3-on-2, because that seems to be the way they do it. Yes, the front three can cause problems for us, Gibbs, White, Awoni and Alanga. But I do feel our back four comfortably can control them. Yes, Kamara can sit back in if needs be. Cash and Dean are still able to get forward almost identically to your formation. I don't see a lot of difference there, because Kamara, his game now naturally just sits back in if he needs to. But what this does is it doesn't create the need for three solid centre-halves to be almost there all the time. It's, as we've seen a lot this season.
Your team allows for a bit more of this then, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the flexibility of the movement, really. And if Cash does go forward, Kamara naturally just sits in, but he hasn't got to stay there. And we've seen this a lot at home. And if we are, which I do expect us to have a lot of the possession, he doesn't need to sit and sort of waste the area that he sort of works in. And we've seen McGinn causing havoc as well. And that would allow him to sit a bit deeper, which he does when Kamara sits. Not really in a 6, but more in an 8/10. But the key for me is this front three, and I think that's where we hurt them on Sunday. I think the pace of Diaby and Bailey and Watkins just playing off the last man would frighten the life out of any team. And I would think it would really, I think Cooper would have nightmares thinking that if we overcommit here, if we do carry on playing our counter-attack style and we lose the ball, Villa are very quick in transition. We've seen that. Pau Torres, phenomenal. Kamara really sort of the right-hand side of Pau, isn't he? His use of the ball is phenomenal. Feeding the ball into Louise, who loves to sit and dictate play, with McGinn's energy, getting up and down. He's like having two players, isn't he? He can play anywhere. I don't think he cares where he plays. He just plays. Still allowing the two fullbacks to get forward, allowing Watkins to sort of play in within the confines of the penalty box, and just saying to Diaby and Bailey, just run riot, lads. We've seen the link up between those two since Diaby's come in, and Bailey's game's gone up to another level. And there's nothing to say that Zaniolo can't come off the bench and have an impact, which he probably will. And there's nothing to say that hopefully we'll be in the lead, maybe 1 or 2, and Carlos can come on and we can see your sort of formation anyway, at some point being a bit more solid. I'm not overly worried about Forest, like I would be saying going to a Tottenham in a few weeks' time, or playing Arsenal City that we've got coming up. I might live to regret this. I don't think they are a huge threat, that they haven't scored loads of goals this season. I think the front three are good. I like Gibbs White. I think Elanga is a good player. Awoni's obviously coming back off an injury. I think the midfield three for them, I think we can get at them massively. And I think if Kamara if we can retain the ball enough, then Kamara can stay in the double pivot with Louise in the 6. McGinn can just float around in front of them. And those three will have their work cut out keeping our three quiet, which will allow the front three to run riot up top. I think that's the way I sort of see it. But there is no right answer in this, is there? That's the thing, I think.
The only one that has got the right answer is Mr. Unai Emery. He holds the clipboard. All we can do is try and get into his mind, which is quite difficult to do.
I think, obviously I'll let Hannah, give her opinions. I know we sort of agreed roughly on this earlier, but I do wonder whether you pair what your two, Luke and Ryan's opinions are after obviously Hannah's given her opinion on what you think.
Yeah. I mean, you've explained it well, Justin. I think for me it was again sort of the same logic of sort of if it's not broke, don't fix it, in the sense that I think again similar kind of game to the weekend, although we're away from home. I think the kind of challenge is quite similar. So kind of keeping that back four as it stood, I think Cash and Dean still have that creative license to go forward, but the back four, for the most part, in general, I like to keep it as it is. As Justin says, when we're travelling to, a Spurs or an Arsenal, or if we've, got Man City coming to Villa Park, I'd be a bit more inclined to put a Carlos in maybe and kind of shore it up a little bit extra at the back. But I think for a fixture like this, what the key is for us is having that pace. We've touched on the fact that Forest clearly are vulnerable on the counter attack. Liverpool's front three, we kind of want to emulate that when we go to the Forest ground this weekend. And I think it was John McGinn that called Diaby, Bailey and Watkins the speed demons, and it's kind of just stuck with me. If you look at the three of them, people probably underestimate how quick Watkins is, but the three of them have that much pace. I think it will be stifling if we can get all of them firing. I've liked the Bailey and Diaby link up that we've seen so far. They haven't actually played together too much, sort of from a starting 11 perspective, but when I have seen that, I've liked it. I think we, as Justin said, we'll probably want to enjoy a lot of that possession. So having that extra man sort of in attack rather than sitting in defence with Carlos, for example, I think just gives us a little bit more fluidity. It will keep the attacks quite quick, quite pacey. And then again, if we do need to kind of get back, we've got the stable structure of the back four that we know works really well. Louise and Kamara ready and raring to go. Kamara dropping into that sort of right position as and when he needs to support Cash in the attack. So I just think it works at the minute. And again, I don't want to disrespect Forest. I think they are a good side, and we'll do fine this season, but they're not a team that I think we need to be really rigid against. I think will definitely benefit from being a little bit more fluid, which is sort of where this reasoning comes from. But again, these are lovely problems to be having. I would be happy to see both teams, but I think I just kind of want to see us go for it, which yes, on the road is a little bit more risky, especially considering that some of our vulnerabilities this season have come from our away performances. But yeah, I just think this is a good opportunity for us to try and test out this front three. And like I say, if we're a little bit too vulnerable or it's not quite working come half time, then we saw again against Luton that Unai Emery will make the change at half time and we can potentially make a defensive substitution. So that would be my reasoning. But again, we're very much open to debate here.
Yes, definitely. So what you're saying, Ryan, I think our team's the best to you, and I think the viewers at home should vote for mine and your teams.
Don't get me wrong, it was a very good pitch by the blue team, but Team Claret all the way.
Bang out of order. Bang out of order.
He's kicked us out, Justice.
That's disgusting, isn't it? We're going on strike, Hannah.
Tactics, you got to use your tactics, ain't you, man?
No, I agree.
Both teams are good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
You can see the problem that De Zerbi had and David Moyes had and Rob Edwards had. They ain't got a clue how that.
How do you prepare?
Emery's going to line up. He's rattled them all already, and Cooper will be like on his tactical pad as well, going, "Oh my God, what's Emery going to do, man? What is he going to do this time round?" And,
don't you think, though, the glory of this team is that we've just got so much flexibility, not just in the squad, but in each individual player that sits in and plays. Why I think I picked my team is because I know that earlier Luke and Ryan were a little bit concerned about dropping Kamara in because it takes away the role that he does in the six, which I totally get. I get that. He's a midfielder essentially, and he does a job when we go forward. But the reason he's so good, he's got that flexibility in his game. John McGinn, flexibility in his game. Matty Cash, came as a winger, and I think he's trying to reinvent him as a sort of false winger now, really, as a right back. We've seen Luca Dean probably have his best spell at Villa now, playing in the left back role, and he's been tremendous for us. Pau Torres, the list goes on. I know we wax lyrical about him every week, but it doesn't matter who we pick. Whoever plays is going to be outstanding, and the thought process behind the formation and the tactics and the way we attack games, we know is solid. And if it doesn't go right, it's not because we haven't put the work in. It's just one of them things on the day. But I fully fancy us to go and take them apart. I always do that.
The cavalry is arriving right at the right moment for us. Moreno back in first team training, which is absolutely massive. I was slightly worried when he was dressed up as that clown, scaring the life out of players like Buendia. I thought, Christ, don't make his knee give way. So yeah, it's great to see Moreno back. I think Ramsey's 2 weeks away, maybe. So hopefully he's back, and then sort of mid-November we should have both of that left-hand side back ready 100%. And we've struggled to pick the team for Forest. Imagine having Ramsey and Moreno back and the options that you've got there then. So, one of McGinn or Zaniolo or Bailey or, someone's got to miss out there. So we're going to have loads of options. And I think that's the beauty of where we are at the minute. So what we want you to do at home then is vote in the comment section down below which team you prefer. And we'll see which of our teams is the winning team. We'll be back tomorrow with the press conference, and then we've got the opposition preview. That's going to be out on Saturday. So hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. A little bit different to what we normally do. It's nice to just mix it up a little bit and keep it a bit fresh. So, Hannah, we didn't get your score prediction. So I think I went 2-1. Justin, what did you went 3-0, didn't you, yesterday?
You're on mute.
You're on mute, mate.
3-1 or 3-0. 3-1 or 3-0. Okay. I can't remember now.
What did you go, Ryan?
2-0.
2-0.
2-0 I went.
So everyone's predicted a win here. What you going
Yeah.
with?
We've obviously got to predict a win, haven't we? We need a clean sheet, especially on the road. I'm going to go with Ryan and a nice 2-0 away victory.
Oh, nice. That'll be absolutely lovely. So, yeah, thank you, everybody who has been watching. Drop a like, subscribe, and up the Villa.
Can I just do
Up
one
the
more thing,
Villa.
Luke, before we go? Sorry.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
lady come to visit me in the shop on Tuesday, and she's a massive fan of the podcast. They've come up from Dawlish to visit friends, but they wanted to come in and have a chat with me. It was lovely to speak to them, and I just wanted to give them a shout out. Sue, Stephen, and the dog Purdy, massive fans of the channel, massive fans of Villa, and it was lovely to meet them. They're huge fans. They comment a lot on the podcast, so I just wanted to give them a shout out. Lovely meeting you.
Legends, and
Up
don't
the-
forget,
up the-
guys, vote for Ryan and Luke.
They're obviously going to vote for me, ain't they?
Yeah.
Don't be swayed by them
That's a
lovely
few votes in.
potatoes.
Free Spud next time you come if you vote for us.
Cool. Right. We'll see you on the next episode. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.